Namaste, I am Avnish. I hail from India, the state of Bihar, and welcome to our another session of the podcast under Nalanda Dialogues. So, today the country in spotlight is Nepal. So, you must have heard about the Mount Everest. It is the highest peak in Nepal, but the magnanimity of Nepalese people, it runs much higher than even the Mount Everest, just that it is not visible. Nepal is a land of deep gorges and river valleys, but the humility and honesty of Nepalese people, it runs much deeper than these river valleys and gorges. To discuss about the different facets of Nepal, we have Kesav with us. So, he will take on a quick virtual verbal tour of the politics, the society, the culture, etc. of Nepal. We will try and delve into those points about Nepal which fail to find their way on the prominent platforms. So, Kesav, he has been a movement builder. He has pursued multiple masters from different countries like Nepal, Sri Lanka. His masters are also from the University of Oslo in Norway and University of Tromsø also in Norway. In addition, he has worked in the area of peace and research worldwide. So, Kesav, welcome to the show. Anything you would like to share with our audience about yourself at the outset of this program?
Namaste. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity for this interaction and share especially some of my experiences till date that I have been being active with people in Nepal and India and also in other parts of the world. Thank you very much.
So, shall we start off with our questions right away?
Yes.
Yeah. So, we have researched on the different aspects of Nepal over the last few days, and we have compiled a set of questions that we found pertinent to this particular podcast. So, Kesav, I mean in the very beginning we came across this unfortunate incident of political instability. So, I know that these are like part and parcels of democracy in the initial days. So, many political experts they have started using this term revolving door to highlight the political scenario in Nepal, the frequently changing governments. So, what is your take on this situation?
Yes, obviously it is so unfortunate that we even have to start this discussion with this very question because of some obvious reason, and there are many aspects to this as to why Nepal has been so unstable politically and in the form of governance. I think out of many reasons, one of the main reasons that I feel is Nepal has been ruled by the family regime for the last 250 years.
Yeah.
And that also it was mostly ruled by one particular family dynasty for almost 100 plus years. And it was into various forms of autocracy, dictatorship and absolute monarchy and some very extreme family rule. And because of that, I think our mentality is still that somebody who is there in the power means that we need to submit to them.
Okay.
And we just need to do what they dictate. So, we just need to sit there and then expect them to bring things to us. Because of this mentality, I think we could not come out of hangover of those autocracy, and we are still not very engaged with the process of transformation that happened in Nepal, especially after the restoration of democracy. And another thing is for all of us, we are not that matured as to what democracy really means. In my opinion, it is not a spectator game. Like you buy a ticket, you go in a stadium and you sit back and you watch the player playing the games. But it is a very engaging game. So I think the best to get out of this instability is to actually engage and regulate the people whom we elect and send it in the parliament, because once they go to the parliament they will forget what they promised us and they will engage in a very little game there, and after 5 years or any years next election happens, they will come and we will again submit to them, forgetting that the promises they made, even minimum, were not fulfilled. So I think we need to engage and we need to really look at the individual rather than looking at a political party. And if we depend on one political party and get identified with that, it will become a feudalistic approach inside democracy. I think no political party should know, except for the few cadres and from some party workers, they should not actually know whom we are voting to. So they will be themselves become more accountable and probably will watch their work from a close point. And in the next election we can really choose people according to their character and their will to do something for the country, and not just being aligned to a party and selecting the same person again and again. I think in that way we can strengthen the democracy.
Right, yeah. So yes, democracy as an institution, it does take some time, maybe in certain cases a few decades also. So, but I am sure that with time, the political stability will be there, and all those associated sectors of Nepal will grow, because it is said that the coming century is belongs to Asia. So, and it cannot happen without every single country growing along. So yes, thank you, Keshav. Across the globe, Nepal is mostly famous for its mountains and its scenic beauty. So what is that one place that you would want our audience to visit in Nepal?
I think it would be very unfair if I just point to a particular place in Nepal, because it has the gorgeous valleys and spectacular mountains, and it has plains with the most humble people in Nepal, and a lot of national parks and world heritage sites are there. So but for me, I think the Annapurna region, trekking in Annapurna region is one of the most memorable experiences that I had in Nepal. And as you know, that Nepal is also known as a trekking paradise. And in my studies and work abroad, I met people from almost more than 150 countries, and many of them shared with me that they have a dream in their lifetime to at least go and visit Nepal and trek in those mountains. And this simply says that how much magnificent these mountains are. And being in front of the mountain, that I really feel that the mountain in me has been introduced to me. So Annapurna range I would suggest for the first time visitors.
So yes, audience, there you have. The next time you visit Nepal, make sure that Annapurna range is in your itinerary. Cure should not be more painful than the disease itself. So it applies not just to geopolitics but also to our personal lives also. So that is the idea behind having these podcasts. Like our beautiful audience, they get to know about the country, and this one-on-one interaction, there is some personal takeaway also. So Keshav, another interesting thing we came across was very few people know that Nepal is a beacon of light when it comes to restoring environmental degradation. So, we came across some data. I am not sure to what extent that is true, but in 1992 the tree cover in Nepal was 26.2% of the Nepal's area, and it increased to 2016 it increased to 44.9%. So, that is within 24 years, that is almost double. So, how do you think this transformation has come about despite a not very conducive political scenario?
Okay. First of all, I must admit that I myself was not aware of this data, and thanks for bringing it into my site.
Yeah.
But one thing I knew while I was even growing up was that Nepal was known for Haryo Ban Nepal ko dhan, which means the green cover is the wealth of Nepal. And I think in between, for some political reason, some deforestation happened to put certain people for some settlement things and all that. But I think one of the things I really appreciate about Nepal is that the community foresting, the concept, is very strong, and people are so committed, dedicated. They protect the forest as if it is their own children.
Wow.
And they plant, they look after it, and whenever there is a forest fire, the whole community will come together to extinguish. And people actually realize the benefit of having green cover, and it is why Nepal has a lot of rainfall every year. I think it is the awareness in the people and the subtropical climate of Nepal also gives a very amicable climate for trees to actually grow and really become dense.
Yeah, so the story that you just explained, that reminds me of Chipko movement in India, a similar kind of movement wherein mostly the women members of a village, they just came out of their homes and each one of them hugged one tree when the people to deforest that area, they had arrived in their village. And that is a very unique example of ecofeminism, not just in India but across the world. So Keshav, that brings me to another question that our audience would like to know. What is that one food item from Nepal that you would like our beautiful audience to try on their next trip to Nepal?
Okay, then again I will be very unpopular if I just say a food name, because Nepal is so diverse. Being relatively small country, we have more than 100 ethnicities, languages, and then each communities have their own traditional food which is very dear to them. And but coming from Nepal, I would definitely, I can't go without saying dal bhat, which is like the Himalayan rice and also the black lentil, which is rich in itself, and it has almost all the nutrients that you really need for your day. So dal bhat, which is like rice and lentil, the black one, which is really rich, and then momos. I have heard many people from many countries saying that you will get the best dumplings in Nepal, in Kathmandu. I think the Nepali dal bhat tarkari and momos, I think these two things you must try.
So audience, there you go. Dal bhat and momo are the two items that you must have on your platter the next time you visit Nepal. So Keshav, another very integral part of Nepal are the mountains, as we just discussed, and Nepal is considered the trekking destination of the world. So like we were just discussing, like there are many people across the world who save money from their very early life so that they can one day trek along some mountain in Nepal. That reminds me of another recent development that has taken place, Nepal's decision to ban solo hiking in its national parks. So, there are two integral points here. The ban is just on solo hiking, not on group hiking, and the ban is only in national parks, not the entire area of Nepal. So, but we also know that solo hiking or solo traveling is the new fad across the globe. So, people just want to explore themselves by traveling alone across the world. So, what do you think, like this decision, what kind of impact will it have on the overall tourism economy of Nepal?
Absolutely. I think the points you have made are very much obvious and valid. Like the solo traveler, traveling is the spirit of the whole traveling.
Yeah.
And I think there's two things I want to mention here. The first is there are numerous places where you can wholeheartedly go in the solo travel in Nepal, because there are no any scarcity of places where you can actually visit when you are in Nepal on your own.
Yeah.
And another thing is, I think the reason why this regulation has come is for a few reasons. The first is the Nepal mountains, they are very fragile and they are always moving. The whole mountain will move, avalanches will happen, landslides will happen, and other than that, wild animals, because Nepal has happily increased the number of tigers by double in the last year. I think something around that is the data. I'm not sure about the exact data. And similarly, we have the one-horned rhino, which can also get violent if we trigger it. So I think it is for the safety of the travelers. The concept of professional guide, accompanying a professional guide has come, and I think it is mostly in the safety of the traveler only, because of the natural disaster and also of the danger from the wild animals while you are traveling in those national parks and some conservation areas. And I think the third point is also to promote the economy, like to create local employment, because since you are traveling to a country which is in a very in a verge of developing, one of the most fastest developing countries, I think it will definitely promote the economy by helping in the livelihood of those people, and you are especially contributing to the country's growth. So you are becoming part of that event. So I think it is on the light of safety and also local employment the thing has introduced, but nobody should think twice not to visit Nepal because of this, because there are different places where you can equally travel solo and have the same experience of the national park.
Yeah. So yes, dear solo trekkers, Himalayas, Nepal is sitting in the lap of Himalayas, and Himalayas, you know, that is the youngest and the most fragile mountain on earth. So kindly understand that this decision is for your ultimate safety and security. There is no other motive behind it. So Keshav, another thing that is typical of the entire South Asian region or developing world, I would say, is emigration or moving out of one's country for lucrative career opportunities or education, and we found out that Nepal is no exception to it. So we came across some images on internet of airports that was crowded with mostly the young people. So what is the scenario of this out migration? So it does bring back home the remittances, but if you could throw some light on your personal experience on the kind of impact it has on Nepal economy, society, etc.
I think this is a very deep concern in the country right now, and it is very unfortunate the flow of young people leaving the country for various reasons, of course, and even without knowing where they are heading to, because I myself have worked in Middle East and I know the situation, how harsh it can turn it to themselves, and a lot of them will be going there after getting married, and the issues that the wife has to deal when they are away from their husband for at least 3 years.
True.
Has totally brought a very difficult situation in Nepal. Like one of the very bad instances is Nepal is in a verge of having many dysfunctional families because of them being away for many years. Apart from that, Nepal is sitting and Nepal is relying a lot in remittances, and which will be counterproductive for a country in a long run. And they will always spend their valuable time abroad, and they will come back with some kind of some physical illness, and that will put a lot of toll on the health system of the country, which is still not that advanced. But it is because of variety of reasons that the youths are seeking an easy escape, and a lot of brain drain is also happening because of this, because a lot of people once they get some level of education in Nepal, they want to migrate to some developed countries for green pastures.
True.
And they may not want to come back, and that will really leave the country drained. And but we can be positive that a lot of things are happening, and people are coming back from abroad, and they are doing some startup, they are implementing things that they have learned in those countries, and government is also now becoming little serious about these issues, and they are trying to bring some welfare initiatives to attract those people who have spent some time in abroad and who would like to come back. So I think next decade will be of homecoming. We can just be positive and welcome us to back to one country, and really do something that will also boost the overall well-being of the country.
Yeah, I think that's one phase in the development life cycle of any developing country. So I'm sure that the expertise that they gain while they stay outside will add some value to Nepalese society and economy in the long run. So Keshav, next question, one product from Nepal that you would like our audience to must try when they visit Nepal?
I mean for eating or just
anything, food we have already discussed, any particular product that is like very popular across Nepal?
We have a lot of physical product like carpet and all. We used to export carpet worldwide, and if you know that Germany used to give us honorable visa because our trading with Germany was in so much profit.
Wow.
So all those things were there, but because of many reasons those factories has been shut, and now we are reviving that again, and the carpet is one of that, and there is one the national weapon kukri, that sword with which our ancestors actually fought various invasions, and because of that Nepal always remained a country without any kind of foreign invasion, and that is the reason that we don't celebrate Independence Day, because we never fall into anybody's hand. So that kukri is something that a lot of people admire about Nepal, because with that even the Gorkha soldiers, they fought with those invaders, as well as even in the some big wars in the world.
So yes, kukri is not just a weapon, it is a symbol of independence and sovereignty as well. So, Keshav, you have worked on peace building and trust building efforts, and during our research we came across, I mean, this is something that is prevalent across all the countries, I guess, because every country has different ethnic groups, and it is often that some external factors, they try to create social divisions across those ethnic lines for their own vested interest. So, we found out that there is some kind of I would say it misinformation about the dynamics between Madhesis and Paharis in Nepal. And since you have first hand worked into this sector, you have your own personal experience. So, I mean, if you can explain the scenario and the efforts that are being made to further strengthen the ties between different ethnic groups in Nepal.
Yeah, this discussion at least requires a separate hour for us.
True.
But
Yeah.
what I can say in a nutshell is there has been some exploitation has been happened to the people of the plains, also known as the Madhesi people.
Yeah.
I think we just need to acknowledge our history and look where we have actually wronged them, and by acknowledging that, I think we will have the first step towards the solution. And because of various reasons, the people in the plains feel they are somehow exploited, discriminated, and the government has been biased to them in various front, and that has left them hurt.
Okay.
And there's a saying which says hearts not transformed are always transferred. So yeah, I have been working in the field of peace building for the last 15 years, but I did not come to the adversity of this situation before I started visiting these areas in person and interacting with the people in Madhesh.
Yeah.
And in the last few years, we have done a lot of interaction with the people, and we have done a lot of exchanges among the people, because we in Nepal know more about India or China or even Mars, more than we know about ourselves, our own nationalities, our own communities. So the thing that we all can do on an individual level is befriend people from another community and really try to listen it from their perspective.
True.
And see where we have been doing wrong. I think this is one of the ways to deal with this. And also there are I have met people who have faced difficulties regarding citizenship, and also they have faced discrimination while they are in the capital city Kathmandu, and there are few derogatory words that we Pahadi community people use consciously, unconsciously, and which have further deteriorated the situation.
Okay.
I think we just need to be little conscious and treat everybody on an equal level.
Yeah.
And that can be done only with the personal realization. So yes, there are concerns about this, and of course there is a solution to this. We need to know about one another and see how we can be a better citizen by treating equally to every other communities who are different than mine or ours.
True.
So this is what I want to say in a very brief.
Yeah. So yes, if I may also share my 2 cents on this. So wherever there are people, there are bound to be points of differences, but we just need to look beyond these points of differences and engage on those points that bring us together. So I would also request everyone that please try and explore those points that bring all of us together rather than obsessing about those points that divide us, because this life is unique as a human being. So I mean, let's seek the best out of it rather than being distressed about those things that are not going well.
Yeah, and coming from a Pahadi community,
Yeah.
through this platform, I want to seek forgiveness from the people of the plains, the Madhesi people, with whom we've been indifferent in many time in the history. And I think by acknowledging this, only that we can move ahead and really build a better and united Nepal.
True. Yeah. So I am sure that with time the situations will improve and people will identify themselves as one common entity. So Keshav, I mean, the Nepalese culture, society, it has so much of depth that we can continue to talk on it for hours. But as you know that we have the constraint of time. So before concluding, I would seek your opinion on one final point, the India-Nepal ties. I mean, the world knows that the term roti and beti is often used to highlight India-Nepal ties. I think India and Nepal are the only two countries on earth where this term is used for their mutual relationship. Also, you have not just traveled across different regions of India, you have also spent qualitative time working with communities in different parts of India. So, what is your own appreciation of the ties between India and Nepal?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most interesting things that I would like to talk about. And I have been working in India for quite some time now, at least 5 years, and I was part of a movement called Initiatives of Change. And with the movement itself has an aim of bringing change in your own life and then see how it can be reflected outside. So I was fortunate to travel to almost 24 states in India and another 6 union territories. Personally, I have worked in almost 15 states in India. In the northeast, I have worked with the Ravas, the Bodos, the Karvis in Assam, and the Khasis and the Jayantas, and the Garos in Meghalaya, and various tribes in Nagaland and Manipur. I am just bewildered with the honesty, integrity, and the simplicity of the Indian people all over India. And in my 5 years of traveling in India, I have not met with any single situation which was of any kind of unpleasant. I think there is something very deep in me that I find in India, because in India I have been to places where I have stayed and I have felt that my weight has almost reduced by 50%. That much of lightness I have felt in India, and there are similar places in Nepal also. And it is very unfortunate, in my opinion, that on a political level it is not that one, it is not that singular. But if you leave the political aspects of the scenario, then I see Nepal and India as one spiritual entity.
Yeah.
But the nations were developed and politics has emerged, and politics needs nationality. But otherwise, I think there are a lot of things that we can actually feel mutual. And across India, I have found a lot of things that really helped me to grow.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to study in some of the premier universities in the world, but no education has come to me as profoundly as it has come into me by traveling in India. And every day India is a university to me, and at some time I feel India is a universe by itself. Because anything you can see in India, in the universe, you can find in India, if you look at it in depth and detail. And another thing I want to mention about is sometimes I become so emotional just looking and staring at the map of India, that I have been to few places and I have not been to so many places, because I think at least 8 to 10 months is required to explore a single state of India in some detail, not fully. And let me tell all of you that India is a single visa entry to at least 50 countries, 50 plus I would say, because within a state there are various cultures and nationalities. Every step you take in India, you will meet with a different culture altogether.
Yeah.
So India itself is a single visa entry for at least 50 countries. I'm not even becoming generous saying this, because you can experience more than 100 countries within India.
Yeah.
Because there is so much of diversity, and this can teach you so much in life that you will never learn in any books. And there is a famous saying by Saint Augustine, who has said, "The world is a book, and one who stays at home reads only one page." So I would request everybody to just leave your comfort zone, your room, your home, your town, your city, your country, and plunge into the experience of travel. Because for a lot of people, travel is just going from one hotel to another hotel, one city to another city. But when I travel, I never book for a place to stay.
Yeah.
And that will give you the real meaning of traveling. So I think I little bit went the other way, because I was supposed to talk about more about India and Nepal. But in a nutshell, what I can say is the relationship between Nepal and India on a personal level, on a national level, and on an individual level should actually increase. I am not very satisfied with the understanding we have about one another, despite us being in a relationship of roti beti, exchanging our bread and exchanging our daughters. So we have that depth, but we need to explore more the various dimension of our oneness, and this will give a big lesson to the whole world. Because we already have free visa entry, because for foreigners to come to India, they have to apply for a visa. But for a Nepali and an Indian, you can anytime cross these countries, just like you are crossing your own village.
Own village, yeah.
So I request all Nepalese should visit at least some parts of India, and Indians should go and see Nepal and listen to the Nepalese people and try to find the ways to actually bring us to a situation where we feel that oneness in a much deeper level.
Yeah, wow. So that was so profound and intense. So that reminded me of an exchange I was having a few years back. So that person told me that you can take me out of India, but you cannot take India out of me.
Wow.
So I mean, he was also very much moved by his experiences in India. But your narration is like, I mean, I got goosebumps at multiple times while you were narrating it. So thank you so much for your deep insights on all the points that we discussed. So Keshav, Nepal, after our interaction, I feel that you are among the best persons to have a discussion on the different facets of Nepal, because you grew up in Nepal, then you have stayed in 6 countries across the globe, you have traveled to 27 countries across the world, and during this stay and travel you have interacted with people from around 150 countries across the world. So you have a different perspective of looking at Nepal from different vantage points. So thank you so much for your precious time. And audience, we will keep coming up with similar interactions with friends from different countries. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Keshav.
Thank you very much, Amnishji, for giving me this opportunity to interact with you and also have this discussion on various aspects of Nepal, and also Nepal and India, the ties and the friendship and the history that we share.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.